Hello, majestic friend. Don't mind me. I'm just casually floating around. I definitely contemplated just eating on shore, but I'm here experimenting with the boat. So I'm slightly crooked just because of the way I'm pulled in here. There's a bit of a current and the side of the boat's anchored into the rocks, but I've got the stove out, and the solar charger going there. Comfortable down here, no wind. There it is, your sourdough mix. Let's just take out 4 for now. There's a bucket lid. I don't want to eat in my gold pan because there'll be grease, and that's not the best thing to mix with gold. At some point, silly Kyle would love to take this out to the ocean. Like, I'd bring a gold pan just to check a few little creeks here and there, but really it would be just like a camping trip. I've always kind of wanted to go explore that Strait of Georgia on the west coast. Oh hey, a fork. Now I can be civilized eating off my dirty bucket lid.
So now we ask, what was around before the universe began? Yes. I do not know if that's an authentic question.
Okay, Bambi. I'll go check up on Bambi. Don't worry. But I'm just sitting here. I'm getting ready to go. And he hopped into the water right there and he just started going for a little swim. Came down, saw me, and then booked it across. So I don't know if he was planning on coming back towards us. Still just swimming out in the middle of the river there. Careful, buddy. I'm gonna shut this engine off. I don't want to freak him out. So on his own account, he jumped out of the river at this crazy cliff here. That is insane. Oh, and he makes it up. And here all the rocks are coming down. Alright, well, he made it up. So that's good. This may be not so good. No, I was just sitting there, not doing anything, and then I think he was trying to cross the river, saw me, and booked it for the far side of the river and wound up here. So like, hopped out of the river right on that edge and booked it all the way up there and made it up. So they're capable little guys. I've seen him swimming before while I'm driving down the river, and it's tempting to go over there and be like, hey, how's it going? But I'll always shut off the engine and just sort of drift because I don't want to freak him out, right? Anyways, on the hunt for gold. This place, no luck. Not right now, anyways. Here is the double level Highbanker in action. I was getting a little bit more flow to the bottom than to the top, but once I put some material in, it doesn't leak down any little gaps on the side. So we're looking pretty even now. I just have the pump down to an idle because it's noisy and I wanted to film this. I'll fire the engine up a little better and you'll be able to see a little more precisely how this works. Some is dripping straight down, some is shooting forwards, and that's because of what I have up here. There's some miner's moss in here, so it sort of dribbles out of the miner's moss and then shoots off the top as well. I have multiple lengths of hoses. This particular hose is my longest of them, and I'm doing that because my pump is a little bit noisy. And as great as it is, having this lightweight pump, any pump that you're running at speed, it just gets noisy. So I might upgrade to just a regular old 2-inch trash pump, and we'll see if that I can run just at a lower throttle and it'll be a lot quieter, because I know typically they are them when you really get this thing wrung out. I have yet to do an actual gallons per minute test, but let's crank this thing up. Here's your little bit of a settling pond. Both levels are running nice and evenly as far as I can tell. This is what the dream mat looks like. This is an absolute destruction zone when you shovel in. There's that much water flow happening. I guess it's just a matter of putting some work in, shoveling some material, and I'm going to do some flow tests, some losses tests, as well as I have a trap to hang on the bottom side, which I'll be putting on there shortly. My apologies for the loud pump. It's really having to work to basically fuel 2 Highbankers. There's your trap on the bottom here. Interestingly enough, I have not yet shoveled into that. You can also already see some material that's slowly scavenging out. There's your dream mat. And the zone of destruction right here. A lot of water flow happening. Okay, so I get that La Trappe is not running very well right now, but just a ton of black sands in here if I spread them all out. And I counted maybe 3 colors that you can sort of see, 4 colors that you can see. And then if you count like the ultra fine micro flakes and stuff, there's, I don't even know if this thing can pick anything up, but there's probably about 35 colors in here. And a shovel's maybe worth 60 colors here. It's just a mediocre spot to test, but that means that in the La Trappe, for 100 shovels, I've got a half shovel's worth of gold in the La Trappe. Even if that's a full shovel right here, that means 1 out of 100 shovels winds up in the La Trappe. Probably another couple shovels wind up at the end and out into the water, but so far it seems like I'm doing better than my previous 80%. I guess the 12-inch wide dream mat just can't quite handle full speed shoveling, whereas 2 of them side by side, preliminary results only, seems okay. Here's your empty La Trappe, of course, since I just cleaned that out. The bottom sluice has some material in it that we can't really see too well. Top sluice, this is sort of how I shut her down. I didn't let it run and run and run, but it does seem emptier than I'm used to seeing it. So that's good. Must mean it's not completely overloading it. We do have some nice streaks of black sand in here. There's a little fleck of gold there, a little fleck of gold there. You can definitely see a little bit of gold, but I'm curious if we're seeing less because there's more buried in those little, whatever you call them, the holes. They're able to actually get down thanks to the fact that we're not just overloading it like crazy. So I'm going to throw some more shovels in. First, I'm going to turn this and run it on clear with a bucket underneath and just sort of see what happens, what it looks like after it's been run empty for about 2 minutes, and then I'll pan out the bucket. And then from there, we just shovel, shovel, shovel. Here's the machine running empty. I bet a lot of this actually went up and over the edge, but we got that much additional out from running it empty for a couple minutes. Looking at the sluice now, we're seeing it's a little bit emptier, but it kind of looks similar. I'm not seeing a ridiculous amount of extra gold or anything. Not sure if we're picking this up or if it's even in focus, but there's definitely a little speck here and there that's visible. And I'm going to pan what's in here. I hate to say I'm surprised, but I will admit I was starting to not really trust my dream mat. But check this out. After just running it balls to the wall, you can see definitely some gold in here, but now if it actually picks it up on the camera, we'll hope for the best. But you know, there's a piece right here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So maybe like 20 little colors in there. And there was a decent amount of material that came out. So again, preliminary results. We can't trust this for 2 reasons. One, with that much water flow pouring over this tub, a lot of that just jumps right out the far side. I've tested this with low water flow during a cleanup. I just had it like all dribbling over the corner with a garden hose amount going into the sluice, and I put a gold pan where it was dribbling out and it was just loaded with gold. So this is not a good gold trap. So there's definitely more losses that this is not picking up. I'd need a larger tub, especially with this volume of water going through. You need a bigger area for it to settle. So there's that. Doesn't account 100% for it. Like, this is really good recovery. I'm very impressed right now. And then the other thing is the ground I'm digging really any good? If you're putting hardly any gold in, of course you're not going to see any losses. So we'll have to wait and see, did I actually catch anything in this run? Now this is 100 shovels. I'm not doing a clean out right now for the top and the bottom. We'll see today and tomorrow if I can get at least 1,000 through, maybe more. But the other thing is my hopper is got miner's moss in it right now, so I'm gonna have to do what's in my hopper, what's in the top mat and the bottom mat, just out of curiosity to see how the division is working. And then of course I will keep track of the La Trappe throughout all of this, including those initial 80 colors that I just tucked back in the sluice. But so far, way more promising than before. I wouldn't mind it being a little bit warmer. It's not quite like painful brain freeze cold, but it's definitely colder than a nice refreshing swim on a summer day. I'm gonna sleep so well tonight. Finally found a little bit of gold, at least enough to test the machine, so I'm really happy about that. And the boat handles great. Simple pleasures in life, when you work for them, they're just so much better. I've moved a decent amount here. It's not the best gold, but I want to actually work my body a little bit, try to get back into shape. And a lot of us come out gold mining like this specifically because it's an awesome way to get a good workout. This is definitely a good workout. There's no gold just glaring out from the tailings, so that's always nice. If we have a look in our La Trappe, it seems like with that amount of water flow, I should probably run it slightly less steep, but lots of black sand with some gold in it down near the bottom, right here. And as we move up, gold's there. This is still kind of buried under silt there, but there's definitely going to be some gold in the La Trappe. As far as the Dream mats, I let her run just a little bit, so it's not looking too packed. But there's some miner's moss in here and this little folded piece of metal just to try to hold on to some material and let it slowly seep through into the bottom. Back home for the cleanup, and here's the little summary of where we are so far. Looking right here, now unfortunately I only have 3 of these. This is what was in the hopper, and it looks to be the most of everything. I'm not sure if that's focusing right, but can only ask for so much from technology. So that's what was in the hopper. This is what was in the tailings sluice. So there's your La Trappe. Again, that wasn't always set up perfectly, so it's not the best representation. Also, keep in mind, I'm running 2 Highbankers worth of water over a single sluice for that La Trappe. So it's definitely, you know, going to be performing less than it was when I'm running half as much water, like closer to what it's supposed to be. And this is the what was this one, the top or the bottom? This was the top Dream mat. So just in my box, I've got it top and bottom. So in theory, the bottom, which is on the miller table right now, will look exactly like that one. So I should have twice this much. So hopper caught a decent amount, just a little bit in the tailings. Again, arguable that that sluice wasn't working too well. And this is the top Dream mat. Now, I'm going to put this into a vial. I will be weighing all 3 of these, but first, let's just quickly have a look. A little look-see. It's an absolute mess, my cleanup system right now. It's all just stuffed in a box, and I'll go into more detail on this when I actually have something to show. Basically what I did is I took everything, put it through a 20 mesh, and then everything again through a 30 mesh. I panned everything that was larger than a 30 mesh. So everything sub 30 is what I have here. There really wasn't anything bigger than that. So this is the miller table set up as it sits, and right now there's a little bit of black sand that's just kind of stuck up. So I take this fan brush. If you set the brush cross to the flow like this, you can get, if you're not careful, there can be a dry spot behind the brush. It's not really doing it right here, but if you don't have a thick film of water, then the surface tension can pick up gold and have it run out of your sluice. So I always go across the flow, and it's pretty simple. You basically just gently drag it over, and then if you come up nice and close, you can see that black sand just rolling away. So we just get it into the flow, get it moving gently like that, and that cleans up all of your black sand. Got a little bit over here. I'm just gonna move that down the table. There really isn't much gold down here, and any gold that does go over the end, if it's just 1 or 2 specks. Once I get everything down to this miller table level, I will actually keep all of my tailings in a bucket, and then I will run those through a tailings sluice at the end of the year and sort of see what I missed. So I'm not 100% concerned about missing, a speck here or there. When I'm all finished, I will take this brush right here. It's just a 2-inch paintbrush, and right now we just see a few little specks, but as I start to sweep everything up, you actually really start to see the gold begin to collect. Before I do that with this brush completely, pulling everything all up the table, I will, again, I said it's a bit of a mess, but I've just got some various shims here, so I'll take out this shim here. It's about 3/4 of an inch. That'll drop the table down to flat so I don't risk any gold hitting the surface and going off. And it also gives me a little thicker water with which I can take my snuffer bottle, and then the snuffer bottle actually has something to suck, and I can suck all this off the table. Almost feels silly putting this kind of effort into this amount of gold, but this is what we all do some days, right? Huh. 0.38 almost. So I missed a little bit of powder on there. And you can see there's a piece of gold on the scale too. Possibly not the best way to do this. This choice of vial is just silly. If this is just too painful to post, I'll just skip right to the very end here. Not the best close-up camera situation, but that right there, what you're looking at, is 1.04 grams of gold. In the hopper, I had 0.38 grams right here. In the sluice, I had 0.6 grams. That was a combination of 0.32 grams in the bottom dream mat and 0.28 in the top dream mat. So roughly similar, don't need to do any major changes with how the water divides top and bottom. My tailing sluice got 0.06 grams, which is 10% of what was in the main sluice. So 0.6 to 0.06, that's 10% went to tailings if you don't factor in that the hopper caught a bunch of this that was never even available to the dream mats to be lost. That tailing sluice was also set up running twice as much water as it probably was supposed to have at a slightly too steep of an angle and a little bit crooked half the time. So this number should probably be a little bit higher with a bit of effort. But I was just feeding massive gobs of material into that thing. So not dealing with absolutely phenomenal recovery yet, but there's lots more tests to be done. Just an interesting side note before I go into the summary. Currently, spot price of gold is $73.27 per gram. So at 1.04 grams, I got a total of $76, which I'm going to say conservatively, 5 hours digging, maybe it was 5.5, but we'll say 5 hours digging. That is $15.20 per hour. The reality, however, is that this gold, my 1 gram of flour gold, isn't 100% pure. At some point when you turn gold into legal tender, there is tax involved. And I would argue that I would probably get $50 actual grocery money out of this, which means that the reality is, of the time spent digging, if you don't factor all the searching and looking and setting up and all that stuff, making about $10 an hour. So, why did I set up there? No, I kind of knew I wasn't going to be finding a lot of gold, and I really just wanted to get some exercise, sort of work on some fitness, gold mining for the next time. I definitely need to get in shape so that I can dig more, and it's good to just get out and move. And I think honestly, if you were just in this for the money, go home, sell all your equipment. Over the years, I would have made more money working a minimum wage job than wasting my life going out, having an amazing time in nature and just having all the experiences I've had. So it's about more than the money. But just because the adult in me says it's not about the money, there's this little part of my brain that takes this on as a challenge. So if I find a little bit better gold next time, if I am able to dig faster because I'm more physically fit next time, if my recovery is very slightly better, testing different flows and slopes and setting up the La Trappe a little bit more level, and there's work to be done on that. So I can start improving that number incrementally. And that's what's really fascinating to me about this whole thing is, even though, okay, it's not about the money, I'm fascinated with how do you make money doing this. I know there's rumors and legends about people who, maybe they paid their taxes this year with it. Maybe they got $5,000 worth of gold, or again, $5,000 for the amount of effort that goes in. Just get a job. You're not getting rich out here. Don't waste all of your money on a bunch of fancy equipment, assuming you're going to get rich. But that's the challenge, is can I make this work? Maybe. I'll keep you updated. That brings me to one final point. This cleanup, it might be the last cleanup I show you for a little while. I will keep tabs of things, but why would I put the effort into splitting, the top dream mat and the bottom dream mat in my next video? I basically just did that because I want to know roughly to make sure that the gold is being distributed evenly between the top and the bottom mat. Now that I know that, it just goes into one batch and off I go. Do I care how much the hopper gets versus the mats get? If I'm testing out a whole different slope or new angle, or if I've got, I do have miner's moss, so I have enough miner's moss to fill my sluice, so I'm going to be testing that out, and I'll compare, what's in the tailings and put my little box underneath and pan out what's in the tailings and everything. But beyond those basic tests, I don't need to do a full cleanup where I do 4 separate runs on the miller table to see exactly what's where. And to take that a step further, I'm not doing this for YouTube. It's not like, hey, this would make great content for YouTube, therefore I will do it. It's more like, I'm really curious how all the gold split up on this first run of the year, just so that I have an idea. Now that I know that, if I'm interested in it, it's what I would want to see on YouTube, so I'm posting it. But I'm not doing it just, to get the views on YouTube. So the next time I go out, right now I spent my weekend, one of my days, doing a cleanup, which means that I don't have as much time to go out on my next trip before I have to go back to work. So it makes sense to me. Occasionally I'll do cleanups throughout the year if I have some downtime, but really, maybe I save some of these cleanups for the winter and I just go out, I find gold. I'll show you sort of how rich the concentrates look in a pan or something, but rather than going through all the effort of a proper cleanup, that's sort of like, here's your YouTube content. And that's not what this is about. This is about trying to find better gold out there and do more digging and optimize, like, can I get up from my $15 an hour and make this feel even slightly more worth it, to the point where I can afford jet boat gas. So this trip, in summary, did not pay for gas, did not pay for groceries, and I got to dig harder next time. Until next time, thank you all for watching as always.